Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Quiet Riot.
Hello, and welcome to a rare Saturday edition of Quiet Riot. I'm Naomi. Now, this episode is part one of the live show we recorded at the Leicester Square Theatre earlier in the week. We were hosted by Hardeep Matharu and Peter Jukes of Byline Times and joined by Rick Wilson and Maya May from the Lincoln Project. In this half of the show, our focus was on the Authoritarian Playbook in America, and we had a lot of fun grilling Rick and Maya about how and why voters went back for a second dose of Donald Trump. We really hope you enjoy it.
Okay, do we want to try that again? Ladies, gentlemen, and all other earthlings, please welcome your hosts. CEO of Best for Britain, co-host of Quiet Riot and Euromaniac, fighting Brexit bullshit and bad politics wherever she finds them, Naomi Smith. The Greek, the myth, the legend, and co-host of Quiet Riot, Alex Andreou. Co-founder of Byline Times, author, journalist, and a man who has spent far too many years discovering what powerful people hoped we'd never find out. Peter Jukes. Veteran Republican strategist, co-founder of the Lincoln Project, best-selling author, and professional pain in Donald Trump's arse, Rick Wilson. And finally, comedian, commentator, strategist, fighting fascist fuckery with a smile, Maya May.
So we've got to thank Alex, not only for his voice of God, but for this great film. Another round of applause for the filmmakers.
Oh, and also, we've got Kenny here, and Kenny's not on stage, but he is here, so let's all give Kenny a big round of applause.
Kenny, hooray! Is that something to do with South Park? I know this. Anyway, so give Kenny a big cheer. So thank you all for your attention. As I said, the first half of this is America, what the fuck? And I actually am going to do it slightly counterintuitively. I'm going to pivot over and look over from the English side. I mean, one of the things I observe, a lot of my family members married Americans, 2 brothers and a sister, and I briefly married an American, was when I... that's another story. When I was a kid, right, I was born in 1960, so I was so besotted by American TV, Batman, the Flintstones, Secret Squirrel, I can name them all, obviously Scooby-Doo, that when I finally met an American, when I was about 10, and their accent, I thought they must have been on TV. Because their accent was the only thing I'd heard on TV. And I'm thinking about, I'm going to ask Naomi and Alex about this huge cultural influence, this light which we've been in their shadow. America's the world's policeman and Pax Americana. Let me go to you, Naomi. How did you feel about that then? And what do you feel about America now?
I mean, let's start with the now. And I've said it many times on the show before, but the fact that they went back for Trump twice is what makes it a game changer in terms of the relationship, right? So, once an aberration, we had Liz Truss. Okay, yes, we also have Boris Johnson, but he was pretty bad first time round, guys, and yet quite a lot of you went back for a second go of it, and I think that has. Look, I'm very grateful to Donald Trump because the UK's relationship with the EU is now much stronger as a consequence, and rightly so. And I think the fear is that there will become a complacency that, okay, look, eventually he will go. Eventually Americans will vote in a democratic president who will be much more amenable to multilateralism and will, take them back into the institutions he's dragged them out of and be an honest broker on the world stage. And I think that's worrying because they have gone back twice. So I think what it's going to take and what I'd love to ask you guys about tonight is how is that reparation going to happen and what safeguards could be put in place to kind of stop this stuff happening again?
So, look, actually, I will come back to you, Alex, but why not go straight over? This is like Wimbledon without excitement. And And yeah, I'm going to ask you first, Mary, actually. I mean, you have moved to Europe, haven't you? So
I have, yes.
She gets it, right? It's happened twice. And so it could always happen again. Do you understand that point of view of Europeans? And obviously, as an American, you feel it too. Is it, this is broken trust permanently?
Absolutely, but I want to say 92% of black women did not vote for Donald Trump. So fool us never. Fool us never. And that is part of the reason why I am in Europe, is because I said, I didn't do this, and I shouldn't have to endure this. Right. But I do understand that feeling of, oh, wow, you guys really messed this up. You botched this up. How could you have botched this up? And quite frankly, the both of us, Rick and I, had spent so much time screaming at people, almost feeling like we were screaming into the void, like we were crazy. There were so many people, if you remember, Rick, that were like, oh, he's not going to even be the nominee. He's not going to run. He's not going to be able to run. And we were like, oh, no, he's coming back. He's coming back.
So let's go. I want to go to Alex first, just to get what I'm trying to explain to you guys, because this will go out on the Lincoln podcast. We loved you guys. I mean, Vietnam and all that, and Hulk Hogan. But, you had other good things going for you. It's a mixed blessing. And we're kind of, we looked up to you, not always, and we're a bit heartbroken. And do you get that, how central, maybe no longer, you were to the world order?
We sacrificed on the vanity of Donald Trump America's reputation. And look, is it a mixed bag? Sure. But did we usually try to do the right thing in the end after exhausting all the other options? Absolutely. But the return of America to Trump in 2024, something we fought very hard against. We beat him in 20, couldn't beat him in 24 for a billion reasons. Actually, 9% reasons of inflation. But my regret and my fear is that the machine that put Donald Trump in place the first and second time still exists. And it will come back again. They will try again. They will try to shave off the crazy on a J.D. Vance or a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz. Well, maybe not Ted Cruz. And they will try to present this person as a normal person, as a member of the meritocracy, as someone who's going to... And none of that will be true. Because the creature they built out there in the country that thirsts every day for immigrant scare tactics and racial animus and buffoonery and the insanity in the White House of all-night tweet storms, those people out there in the audience want that. And they understand something fundamental in what I call the hate machine. Those people understand that the voters are now an audience in a show. And our friends in the Democratic Party still say, well, just read our 900-page policy plan on climate change and you'll agree with us completely. And it never works.
So, Alex, I want to just pivot back to you, especially with your Greek background. A lot of Greeks are much more skeptical, historically.
Much more.
And always have been. You don't have this
yes, Americans have pretended to be Canadian when they visit Greece for much longer than just since 2016.
The old Velcro maple leaf backpack patch.
It's like you're a boot is not going to cut it now.
So there's various reasons for that, which you may illuminate. But the interesting thing is that, so Rick's next book is going to be called The Hate Machine. And is I should say he was too modest to say it himself. He's number one best-selling author. Now, Alex, as well as Quiet Riot, has this amazing podcast called Podacy, right? I want to ask you, the way Brits have framed themselves is the classic line, we're Athens to their Rome. We're the Greeks, we're the civilized ones. They take our gods, they take our language, they take our movie stars, they take our myths like Lord of the Rings, and they frame it in their own ideology. But we're kind of looked up to because we're Greeks and they're Romans. You know a bit better. The relationship between Greeks and Romans wasn't very good for Greeks, was it?
Well, look, in the long run, they're both dead. So this is only going one way, really, and then followed a great dark age for a millennium. So let's hope it doesn't get to that. There is something quite Roman about American democracy, I think, with the negatives and positives that entails. And I think the illusion that we labored under on this continent for the longest time, especially until Trump 2.0, was that there were safeguards in the Constitution that limited executive power. And then it turns out you just need a little tweak here and a little tweak there, and to cow everyone into submission. And suddenly executive power is everything. You can do whatever you want. And when you're like the world's biggest army, that's quite a frightening project for us. So we feel like we're passengers in the same car as you, but have no control over who's
we're
driving it, basically.
but I mean, we often, in this country, worry about the fragility of our own constitutional arrangements, and we don't have a written constitution in the same way that you do it. It's written, but in lots of different places. It relies very heavily on convention. It relies very heavily on this good chaps theory of government, that people will do the right thing, so you don't need the hard and fast guardrails. And we always look to America as, oh, well, they've got this Bill of Rights and they've got all of these amendments to the Constitution that will stop abuse of executive power. They've got, the separation of the legislature and the executive, and the judiciary. But you don't. And so the thing that I really want to ask you guys that we don't understand. So when a party leader departs office, they fail an election and they resign, they get replaced really quickly. But you guys aren't doing that. I mean, the Democratic Party doesn't have their nominee yet. Why? Because they could be having a 4-year run-in of, selling their vision to voters, of raising their profile. And they could also be beginning to talk about the kinds of amendments to the so-called safeguards that could be put in place to stop authoritarian abuse in the future. What's going on? Why don't you do it like that?
Can I just, I want that question answered, but can I just clarify how extraordinary it is to us? Imagine Keir Starmer deciding, I don't like the name the Royal Albert Hall. I'm going to rename it the Sir Keir Albert Hall. And that's obviously been stopped by the courts. It's bollocks, isn't it? The Constitution checks and balances. This man can be and is, for 4 years, a tyrant.
He has essentially become a tyrant. Look, and Naomi, your question is really acute, because there was a long spin. And I heard it all the time from our friends who used to be Republicans and are still Republicans. Don't worry, the institutions will stop him. The safeguards, the guardrails, good people will be around him to convince him not to be an insane person. Well, the problem with insane people is that they are insane all the time, and the guardrails don't matter. Trump has shown that if you blow past the Constitution, blow past the rule of law, own the political space so thoroughly where people are afraid that you will kill them, which is sort of a Saddam vibe, then you can take more power every single time you take another step forward. And it is a dangerous place for America. And I would counsel folks in the UK, the good chaps theory, the minute you imagine for a moment you get somebody who's smarter than Nigel Farage. Now, I know most toasters are smarter than Nigel Farage, but imagine you get someone smarter and more determined than Farage, and he becomes prime minister and just says, you know what, we're doing it my way.
But Boris Johnson did do that to a certain extent. Maya, you wanted to come on this.
Yeah, so when you talk about the guardrails, if you look back at American history, those guardrails only existed for certain segments of society. Those guardrails didn't really exist for my parents or for my grandparents. And so the mechanisms for just veering off a cliff were always there. And I think that's what I caution people to think about, is that if you can break it for one segment of society, you can most certainly break it for society as a whole, and the warning signs were always there.
But do you know, Maya, that leads me actually to something else, because 2 years ago when he got re-elected, I remember very clearly saying on the podcast that the saving grace is that America has a tradition of civil, disobedience, of protest, of action. What happened to that?
Once the government showed they would murder people in the street, like Alex Preddy and Renee Good, and a dozen other people in the last year or so, once they showed they would kill people in the streets, and that message that we will deliver violence unto you is in two tiers. One was that Donald Trump, there have been two planned terrorist attacks on the U.S. Capitol in my lifetime. One was 9/11. It didn't happen, thank God. The second was Donald Trump sending an armed mob to the U.S. Capitol to kill U.S. senators and members of Congress, and they live in terror every single day, since that point. And now they want ICE in the streets, DHS in the streets, and they're willing to kill people and laugh about it and joke about it because that will keep the rest of the protesters home.
Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot.
Mike, just picking up on your point, I've just been watching that series, the Netflix series, about the foundation of the US, and it went on much longer than I thought. 1776, they were having wars for another 8 years. Of course.
Oh, I thought you meant the series. I thought
But anyway, the show's only 8 episodes. But the war goes on, the struggle goes on for about 8 years. But of course, two founding sins. One is the complete riding over the rights of Native Americans, indigenous peoples. And then, of course, what I didn't realize, so it's just new to me. I knew that, slavery still existed, they were exempted, but they were counted in the census so they could get their votes in the South. So to you almost seem to be saying to me, this is just the latent poison of the American system, which was come to the surface and would always come to the surface.
Absolutely. You can't count people as 3/5 of a person to be able to then take that power from that community and flash forward many years where you're still, because America truly as a democracy, not until the till the Civil Rights Act, right? So you can't flash forward to 1965 and people are still struggling to be able to exist as U.S. citizens and then say that we have always welcomed people into the electing of our leaders. These guardrails that we talk about, this exceptionalism that we talk about, we have to constantly remember and constantly remind people, though they don't want to hear it, that that was only for some people. And so this is a reckoning at this point. This is a reckoning, and it's, are we willing to be truthful, which is why nobody wants to look at critical race theory and nobody wants to look at actual history, because we're not yet willing to look at who we are and say, okay, maybe this is who we are, but we can be better.
But let's go back to Naomi and Alex on this. But Martin Luther King could say, I have a dream, because there was the Declaration of Independence, which says all men are equal. You also had, and my son worked on their campaign, the amazing other moment of Obama's election in 2008. Is this, from your point of view, the one way of looking at this is it's a huge setback, but there's these huge strides before? Or do you think this is, from your feeling, you'll never get back sad, glorious morning like you might have had in 2008?
Look, you can get it back, but it's going to take a really long time.
What would it take, do you think?
Right. Well, and I think we've had a smidgen of it here in the UK because of our disastrous referendum result 10 years ago, where we shoot ourselves in the foot and leave the EU, and now we're trying to repair that relationship. It's tough, guys. Like, we've had a government for the last 2 years trying to do that and earn back the trust of the people whose lives we made very, very difficult for a very long time and were extremely rude about publicly. For 40 years, Farage and his friends were criticising the EU, and it is going to take a very long time. And
do you have a time scale on that? Is this generation?
I'm working on it. It's going not long. Yeah, give me one more election and then a couple of years for a referendum. But my point being that we didn't inflict major economic pain onto the EU. We did it to ourselves. But what we've had from Trump is tariffs being slapped on most of the country. I mean, look, there's this amazing thing that happened last week. Canada builds a bridge, pays for the whole thing, from Ontario to Detroit. And the week that it is opening, they don't invite the Americans to the opening party. Okay, this is the most Canadian act of war ever. Not a shot fired, not a boot on the ground, but I'm so sorry, your name is not on the list. Why? Because that very week, he has slapped 50% tariffs on Canada and then said to everybody, don't worry, they're paying for it. The Canadians are paying for it. No, that's not how tariffs work. It is going to be Americans paying tariffs on Canadian stuff that they want to buy. But what I'm trying to say is it's taken years for us to even begin to get into the room again with the Europeans to have a nice conversation about what might be possible at some point in the future. And we hurt ourselves economically, not the other way around. So I think the world is going to take a very long time to forgive and forget.
Can I go
We're
with
not
you?
trustworthy.
just a slightly different angle on this, because one of the reasons that Farage was not completely loathed it, and why people like Trump and people who never voted for before turned out for Trump, a little bit like Boris Johnson. So with Trump, you have a figure who's, I mean, it's crazy, but for a lot of voters, for a while before their bills went up, it was entertaining. Is there the dryness of... Yeah.
But, so, because I was thinking about this, actually, I was looking at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm a politics geek, but that was a hard watch. And I was thinking that even the stuff that his fans used to appreciate, his sort of mercurial quality, and he used to be quite funny, and a sort of a buffoon of sorts. But even that is gone now. You were looking at shots of the audience, and there was no appreciable difference between them and the ones that had been interrupted by the gunman in the abandoned version of the White House. Like, there should be a difference between people going out from a shooting and going out from a dinner. There were people with their heads in their hands.
Yes.
And I just thought, what is happening?
Alex, you have to look at Trump a certain way. And I regret to inform you, I am an anthropologist of Donald Trump. I've written 2 books about that son of a bitch. And I wish he wasn't in my brain all the time. But Trump he's never been a smart man, as you may have noticed. But Donald Trump had a kind of feral cunning. He could play to the audience. And Donald Trump in American politics had been on a reality television show called The Apprentice for 14 years. Yep. And Americans loved them some reality TV shows. And Donald Trump convinced them he was a brilliant negotiator, brilliant businessman. And then he tried to play that character for a while. Now he is a washed-up fourth-rate comic at a dinner theater in Branson, Missouri, with 6 people in the audience, and 2 of them are drunk yelling at the stage. He has broken down as a performer, and his own people, they loved the transgression. They loved the edginess. In 2016 and 15, they loved the physicality of Donald Trump swaggering out across the stage and looking down at Hillary Clinton. And now he looks like a bloated old corpse wearing a Depends. He is not the picture of what he was. And it happens to everyone. He's 80 years old. He's severely obese. He's got dementia for days. He's an Adderall addict. And the man is falling apart in front of our eyes. You don't want to watch it. You want to look away.
So, I mean, is that your hope? Mortality and people see through illusion, Matt?
So that's the thing, though. I think people love to see that spectacle.
Yep.
Even though it's like you hate to look away, but you look through your fingers at it because you're like, well, this can't get worse, can it?
He could be naked. That would be worse.
He'd be naked.
So can I ask Maya something? Because going back to your larger point, I'll be honest with you. When Obama was selected at the primary, I thought, no way. No way is America electing a black president. It ain't going to happen. And I was just immensely pleasantly surprised. It felt like a real moment. And then on a very simplistic level, what's happened since feels like revenge for that.
It's not
it
simplistic.
Feels like you lifted your head and you were disrespectful,
Yes.
and this is now your lashings, basically. That's what it feels like.
Oh, absolutely. We forgot our place. We got uppity. We ended up in a place where we weren't supposed to be.
So isn't that a point? I mean, one of Rick's foundational moments is Trump attacking John McCain. Sure. But the foundational moment for Steve Bannon's Tea Party, where it all begins, to me, is in that first Obama campaign. Tell the story where basically McCain tries to calm down this audience, which would then become MAGA.
So John McCain, who, was a deeply honorable man, flawed in some ways, but an American hero. He was tortured in Vietnam for 7 years because he wouldn't break and he wouldn't go home. They said, we'll let you go home if you'll just record a video saying that you're a war criminal and betray your other fellow officers. And he said, no, I won't do it. And he was an iconoclast in American politics. And in 2008, during the campaign, a woman stands up, I can assure you, a Fox viewer, hooked on the Rupert, as we say. And she says, that Barack Hussein Obama, he's a Muslim, isn't he? He's a Muslim terrorist from Kenya. And John McCain, to his eternal credit, said, ma'am, he is a Christian, he is a good family man, he is a good American. That's not how we're going to talk about this. And inside the Republican right, at that moment, an enormous fissure occurred. And there were millions of Republicans who heard on Fox the next day, McCain defends Muslim terrorist. And by the way, if Barack Obama was a Kenyan Muslim socialist terrorist, he did a terrible job at it. But it was about punishing that moment after 2008 when McCain lost. Barack Obama was an extraordinarily skilled candidate, gifted in ways that have not come along since in the good side. Donald Trump is gifted as a candidate in the evil side, but it is really important to remember that catalyzed these people, where the result that we started seeing in 2015 in focus groups, where the white working class guy would go, yeah, I'm going to be Trump's guy because he's going to let me say the N-word again. They wanted it. They wanted to say the N-word. They hated Barack Obama so much. And look, I could disagree with them on policy stuff all day long, but they wanted to hate. They wanted permission to hate.
And also, they knew that they needed that hate to win elections. Right. And so that was the moment where they decided, okay, we're going to stoke this. We're not going to say, can we be a better country? Can we evolve as a country? And they're saying, no, this is about getting back into power. And they used it.
Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot.
There had been a Southern strategy before, which was basically the Democratic Party were big in the South, more aligned with it during the Civil War. And then the Republicans in the 1960s sort of began to target that audience. There's another thing on top of this, which is very American, which maybe you'd like to speak to, is suddenly the world is run by big tech. I mean, that 30% residuum of racists isn't enough to win you the White House, is it? They have to be amped up. People have to use that animus.
Listen, the old theory of the Republican Party was we knew that 25% of the base, if I may put it as bluntly as it used to be said in the room, were cousin fucking weirdos. And you brought them out of the closet every 4 years, you hosed them off, and you sent them off to vote. We did not want to talk about those people. We did not particularly like those people. I come from, you can call it the rhinos or the country club Republicans or whatever you want to call it, but we were the guys who could win races. And the weirdos could not win races. But that coalition, they were a part of it. Now, they're in the government. And so when you look at the weird Mad Max hellscape that is America right now, it is because people like Stephen Miller, and by the way, every time Stephen Miller goes out and gives one of these like Hitlerian Overmensch speeches, I'm like, dude, have you looked in the mirror? I mean, my God.
Not the Ubermensch.
Yeah, no. He doesn't have a reflection. Yes, Stephen Miller sleeps in a coffin with the soil of his native land every night. I know. But look, the race is the original sin of America. It is a through line in our elections, and it is a through line right now. Now, they've transformed it slightly because African Americans are no longer the fastest growing minority group or the largest minority group in America. That's Hispanics. So they have turned their guns, sometimes literally, onto people. That's why you hear the Haitians are eating the dogs and the cats, and that all the Mexicans are cartel member, human trafficker, sex slaver, whatever. I mean, that's the Republican Party, by the way. But those people, they have to have a drumbeat underneath it all of racial and ethnic animus to survive. Now, and look, our friends in the Democratic Party do not always handle this the right way. Because just screaming, y'all are a bunch of racists at them, they're like, yes. Yes, what about it?
So we talked earlier about Trump's health.
Yeah.
You sort of touched on it. And of course, we need to talk about explosive diarrhea. Because at the moment, there is a cyclospora outbreak, right?
Yeah.
So this is affecting tens of thousands of people. This started in Michigan as well, where the bridge was meant to land. Not having a great month. But you've got two parasites. One of them in the White House, he put on a 2028 cap the other day.
Yes, he did.
Which one's going to be easier to get rid of?
Well, look, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Taco Bell in the U.S., but Taco Bell is notorious for causing the same symptoms as the shit lettuce. But Taco Bell just infects people for the love of the game. These people did it by just cutting the regulations. Elon cut Doge and they cut the testing. So now we have shit lettuce, which causes explosive diarrhea for 10 to 12 days. Or as I call it, green Ozempic.
So, Naomi,
but hard to get rid of both of them, unfortunately.
So this idea of the hate machine, we talked about Trump being emblematic of America. I'm sure when I mention this person's name, who's briefly mentioned before, will not get cheers. Elon Musk, right? That did not get cheers. To what extent watching, because what happens, you can see it happen with Trump. He's the first to lie about Obama's origins. He was a kind of Democrat, but he got Russian money. You can see his radicalization over time. With people like Musk and Peter Thiel, we're seeing it in quicker. The way Musk has become, he was a Democrat, he was kind of taking a lot of money for electric cars and going to space with David Bowie. Watching him become this racist fomenter of race war on our own streets. What do you think is happening there? Is that self-radicalization? Is that the crowd? Is that opportunism? Is he just activating that base?
I don't know, but it is a classic case of being too online and being radicalized. And we talk about it on the show a lot, but I am much more worried about the radicalization of his generation and older from social media than I am the digital natives. We've got one in the audience, by the way, my nephew Max. Hi, Max.
Although it has to be said, it's rare to be radicalized by yourself,
right? Your own algorithm.
Your own algorithm. That's one of the rarer ones.
But your very first policy was about narcissism. It was about looking in the mirror and falling in love with yourself. And I think that is in no small part what happened. He's not being driven by money. He's got more money than everyone has ever had.
It's power. So the other thing, during Brexit, obviously parallel to the first Trump campaign, a lot of the same technology people, Bannon and the Mercers were involved. But face it, the real idiots online were people like me, boomers, weren't they? Those the people on Facebook are being radical.
And who cannot so easily identify deepfake or AI content and have much more time on their hands than younger people who are, working and studying and raising families and doing everything that comes with life. So they are too online. For many of them, incomes are not as poor as they are for younger generations. So there isn't really that excuse. But, they are less likely to have a higher level of education, etc. And their ability to filter out bullshit from reality, it wanes, but it's on steroids in that cohort.
So can I bring another Greek concept in? Nemesis. Mm-hmm. So tell us about Nemesis, and we'll see if this is going to happen over the pond to our colonial friends. Tell us about Nemesis.
I mean, Nemesis was the goddess nominatively of justice, but really she restored balance. Mm-hmm. So she was there to punish you if you didn't appreciate the gifts that had been given to you. And so it's the idea of karma, basically, and we would all like to think that these people will get their comeuppance.
You don't
I
believe
don't think
that?
they will. No, I don't think they will. I think Trump is old enough that he will do as much damage as he can and then just pop off.
He'll be lucky enough to just die in his sleep, won't he?
He'll be taken out of a box.
My one hopeful addendum is that I don't think you can shave the crazy off J.D. Vance.
Oh, no.
I mean, I just think he would look even weirder, actually, if you shaved him.
Part of the problem is that Elon runs the largest right-side social media platform, which has a huge normative effect. And Elon, I mean, Maya knows better about Elon's radicalization than a lot of people, but he ain't going to let that go. He loves being the kingmaker.
Mm.
Yeah, so my daughter's trans, and as many of you may or may not know, Elon Musk's daughter is trans. And so when she came out this deeply affected him. What is interesting to me is that even though he is the tech god, he doesn't understand the algorithms that will continue to send you more and more of what you hate and more of what you fear. And so rather than choosing that moment to connect with his daughter, to try to understand who she is as a human being, he used that time to spiral, and I believe was perpetually online and became a victim of the tools that he is propagating. And so that is something that we all need to be mindful of. It's not just that people can't discern between what's real and not what it is. It's that if you look at an alpaca, you're going to just get sent alpacas.
Yeah.
I look at a lot of alpacas.
Yeah, we love alpacas. Any alpacas in the audience, please come up. So if people don't know and haven't written about this, he boosted the algorithm because he was out-tweeted by Joe Biden over some Eagles game, we'll talk about American football in a moment. And he was so pissed off, he got the engineers to boost his by 10,000 times. But look, man, this is what I mean about nemesis. Two things is, Elon Musk is not a byword for statesmanship or even good cars or rockets anymore. It's a byword for evil. And the other thought I had before we go to our quickfire round is that these people are dying. You know, the Facebook lot, the hate engine, will it continue beyond this generation who's vulnerable to it?
Look, one thing about Elon's rockets, he wants to colonize Mars, and I encourage him to go at his earliest opportunity. But in the meantime, that machine of social media that manipulates these people who do not have the cognitive skill to. My favorite story about that in 2016, there was a meme posted on Facebook that was one of the largest memes of the year, and it had Hillary Clinton and Satan. It says, which one do you hate more? Click here. They were clicking Hillary. That's because they don't have the ability to think beyond this very curated environment that Fox and Facebook and Twitter have built for them.
And just on that, I mean, I've done some work on Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in the Trump campaign. Effectively, a guy running a pedophile ring, financing, encouraging this myth that the Democrats had a pedophile ring out of a
pizza restaurant.
In D.C. I'm just talking more socially. I know you've come over here for a while. I don't know how long you'll stay in the sunny shores of Europe. But do you see hope in the long term in the demographics? And in a way, if you look at drama and culture, I mean, there is just a wider pool than when I was younger. It is more diverse. It has different voices. Korean singers, whoever thought that? There is a set. Do you think that in a way the long haul of culture is against them? That's why they're pushing back.
I think that's such a tough question right now because the Gen Zers, my daughter's generation, they were enjoying this moment where the TV shows they were seeing were representative of who they are, of their classmates. And so there was this sort of, they had no idea that it wasn't always this way, or that it had to be sort of forced into being. And so I don't know that they appreciated it as much as they should have. And now that they're seeing it taken away, I think there's a little bit of a trauma that's happening right now, especially for Gen Z girls. On the flip side, you have the Gen Z boys who are susceptible to a very different world of the Andrew Tates, of the Joe Rogans. And so I think the constant repression of what is inevitable is going to create sort of a pressure cooker, if you will. But it is inevitable. And so I do have hope, but I think it's going to be messy.
Because of the pressure cooker effect, people resist. Did you have something to say about that?
No, she just mentioned Andrew Tate, and I know he's a big story over here. I just want you guys to all know Andrew Tate, who these young 18 to 30-year-old men look at as the paragon of masculinity, has been in a federal correctional holding facility in Florida for the last 10 days or so, because he's coming back here on rape and sex trafficking charges.
And Romania.
And Romania. And he has had a formative effect on so many young men in America. And when you look at it, Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate are the two best known figures among young men 18 to 30. The upside is right now that Andrew Tate is in prison rage tweeting how unfair it is. And I'm like, and he said, this can't be, nothing can be worse than this for me. I'm like, oh, yes, it can. It's going to be a long time, brother.
Quiet Riot.
Across the country, United Health Group is working with local partners to build healthier communities every day. That includes helping partners like the Good Acre provide 45,000 meals and lower A1C in the Twin Cities, and helping Hello Family doulas deliver 44% fewer underweight births in Spartanburg. Because building healthier communities starts by giving people access to the care and services they need to live healthier lives. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Quiet Riot.
I'll be leaving in a moment for the interval, but Hardeep will replace me, and you can continue talking to these wonderful guys. But before we do, this is a Lincoln Project podcast, little trope, if you like, a little part of their show. They have a quick fire round, right?
A lightning round.
A lightning round. It doesn't have to be
We're
lightning.
too cheap for the special effects.
Ding, ding, magic, ding, ding, ding. So I'm going to ask general. I only got 4, and if anybody's got other ones, please ask them. But I'm going to start. Let's start all of you, and I'm going to start with Naomi first. 1776, big mistake. That's the year. Right? Yes or no? No, you say whatever you like.
No. Yes. I don't know. I need more time to think about that.
So can I say it's a mistake for us because we lost. I always say about America, I've taken this from another author, Thomas Paine, freeborn Englishman, leads other freeborn Englishmen and women to tackle a German monarch and his German mercenary army. It was our victory, and then they took it away. What about you, 1776?
Oh, not a mistake, for sure.
Okay, that's quite good.
Yeah, new world.
Come on, you're having some regrets. That's why you're here.
Look, not a mistake, but when we designed that operating system, there were a few bugs.
1776, take us back. Please take us back. Take me.
We're well behaved. We really are well behaved.
You're so fun.
Because this is
fun at parties.
This is slightly more about language. No, let's go to another one. So this is mythic as well. I hope people understand this. If they don't, I'll explain it.
I probably won't.
Okay. Naomi, is it true that Europeans are from Venus and Americans are from Mars?
Yes.
Why?
You said it's quick fire.
Yeah, no, but I need a why you say that.
Well, the language barrier is enormous, and we were talking about it before, back in the green room, and like the different, zucchini, courgette, all that.
You've ruined my 4th question.
Oh, anyway. sorry. But I think that just the humour is quite different, and that's why brilliant comedians have to come and flourish here. I definitely think that we now feel much more European than American, and that wasn't true maybe when you were growing up.
That's very true. Did you get the reference there, Alex, what I was talking about? That was about a famous book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. So answer yes or no. Americans from Mars and, or Venus? Or both?
No.
Okay, brilliant. Moving on that.
Can I explain? Because that is to separate us in a way.
Yeah.
That is to say there was something different going on over there, and there wasn't something different going on over there. There's not something different going on over here. It's just an accident of the constellation of the wrong person appearing at the wrong time and being backed by the wrong people. And it can happen anywhere. And I would caution against this notion that
we're different.
Americans are somehow children,
and
they've made a terrible mistake now.
No. It's meant to be funny.
It's funny.
But obviously, you're right, and that's a serious point to make.
I'll try. Okay, I'll give you a funny.
Time.
Next time you see Stephen Miller on television, just imagine him as a waiter that gets progressively angrier as he tells you the specials. Because he gets so angry by sentence 2. I find it really fun to imagine him as a sort of maitre d' going, and the hake with a sauce.
And for dessert, libs.
So, to explain to you got the reference.
I got the reference.
Look,
the idea that Europe is Venus and America is Mars, it might have been at one point closer. But now America is the planet where the aliens are, where the eggs, the face-hugging things that come out. And we are a country that is very, very angry with itself and with everyone else. And some people have weaponized that. And some people have turned that into political capital. But we're also a country with a shocking love for our communities and our neighbors and our friends and our families that doesn't make the news. It's not fun. It's not, the algorithm doesn't care. The algorithm doesn't care about the guy who helps the little old lady mow her lawn. The algorithm doesn't care about the community center that registers old folks to vote. The algorithm doesn't care about that stuff. But there is a side of America that we've allowed to get swamped by all this hate and anger. And in some ways, look, I like beating Donald Trump like a rented mule every single day. I do. It is a joy. But I would really love to see the America that is our best aspect come back up there. More of the Venus than the alien face-hugging acid creatures.
So, Maya, shall I give you the last one then?
Yes.
It's a slightly tedious one. Do you answer this one if you want to talk about?
I do.
Yeah. No, the one before.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay. Give us a break.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can all answer this. Give us we don't like fake news, right? We hate fake news. We don't like things misdescribed and being inaccurate. We're all kind of journalists here. American football? Come on! What the? Uh-oh.
I was like, as a soccer fan.
Oh, right, so you get it. Oh. Yeah. So they're lying about American football.
Yeah.
It's American grass ball.
Yeah,
throw it around ball.
We're doing our best, first of all. That's all I have to say about our...
My wife is in the audience, and she has made me a fan of football in the actual sense.
Not soccer.
Yeah.
Not soccer.
Was I say because there's an influencer I Show Speed who calls it European football and then football.
And South America, Asia, nobody else plays, just European. So I think our time's come to close for this first half. Don't worry, I'm gone. You get them all back, and in the second half we'll turn around and look at specifically what Americans can do. Well, our esteemed guests and the amazing years of resistance. Rick's been doing this for 11 years, resisting Trump. How they can help us, how we can help them. We have a special guest. I'm not giving anything away, but a bit of a surprise. We like to have preeminent politicians turn up out the blue. So in the meantime, so stick around. The bar's going to be open. There's going to be what they call it a hydration break. And can we give the panel a fantastic applause, and we'll see you after the break.
And that's the end of part 1. Come back tomorrow for part 2, featuring special guest, His Excellency Count Binface, as we try to explain British populism to our puzzled American guests. But before you go, do make sure you're supporting Byline Times, who made the show possible. And if you want to see all of us in full Technicolor, sign up to the Lincoln Project YouTube channel, where the video content will be uploaded very soon, and we'll leave links in the show notes to those. Before I go, though, a huge thank you on behalf of the whole Quiet Riot team to everyone who came up to chat to us before and after the show. Honestly, you are all such incredible, passionate and clever people. It was very much our privilege to get to meet all of you in person. And for those who couldn't make it, this is my solemn promise that not London will be the location of our next live show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. We love you lots. Bye.
Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot is an audio production from Cooler Heads, written and produced by Alex Andreu, Naomi Smith, and Kenny Campbell. Music by Mariana Sangeeta, artwork by Simona Canelu, and edited by me, Alex Reese.
Quiet Riot.
Yeah, once fool me, first time isn't it? Once fool you, second time's fool me. It's happened twice.